Hey guys, it's Julia, designer at the Quilted Cow, and today's tutorial is on the Helpful Heifer tissue cover. Before we begin, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Husqvarna Viking sewing machines, Creative Grids rulers, mats and rotary cutters, and Wilmington prints. Let's get started.
Quiet on set, we are rolling.
The Helpful Heifer tissue cover is the perfect accessory for all of your household needs. It'll match all of your surroundings, covers all those ugly old tissue boxes, and it makes two sizes, so it'll cover the cube and the carton size. You can find this kit on our website at thequiltedcow.com or on our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Let's begin with the first step. The first step for the tissue cover is the top of the box. This is also the hardest part. So what you want to do is to mark a 1x3 center rectangle right in the middle. So I always do that and measure 2.5 inches in from the side and then 1.5 inches from each end and just draw a line that's 3 inches long. Repeat that on the other side and then simply connect the dots at the end 1.5 inches from each side. Now if you're doing the carton size, it will be different, but just keep your rectangle centered. Now once you have your rectangle drawn in the center, we're simply just going to cut this out right on the line. So I'm going to fold it and just cut in the center. Once you have the center for the top part all cut out, we're simply going to stack our fabrics. So you want to have a main and a lining fabric, and if you place your lining first on top of your foam, you are going to end up with probably having wrinkles on the lining piece. So if you want to add that extra pop of color to the top of your tissue box, put your main down first. And next I'm just going to add my main right on top of it. I'm going to add some clips just to hold everything together. Then I'm simply going to turn my project over and step to my machine. I'm going to sew 1/8 inch right around this center rectangle cutout. Now that you have your fabric secure around your center rectangle cutout, we're simply going to cut a slit right in the center of this. Now you can use your rotary cutter to get it started, or you can just pinch it and use your scissors. And I'm just simply going to cut right in the middle so I can get my line started. I'm going to cut towards the end and then go all the way into the corner just shy of my stitch line into two little triangle shapes. I'm going to repeat that on my other side. And once you have this piece cut out, you can leave the fabric in place. We're going to turn our project over and take the top fabric and push it through the hole. If you've ever done a hidden zipper, it's kind of the same lines as you do for that project. And I'm going to pull my fabrics through and clip them in place. Now I'm going to pull until I can see the seam for the lining and the main right on the inside of my rectangle cutout. Now at this stage, I have all of my fabric pulled tight around the outsides, and I have some wrinkles in these corners. So what I'm going to do is continue to adjust all of my fabrics until I can get a smooth finish on my fabric. Once you have the top piece all smooth and wrinkle free, we're simply going to step to our machine and add a top stitch right around the center rectangle cutout. Once you have your top stitch around your center rectangle, we're simply going to add a base stitch to our outside edges. We will be trimming this top piece, so I always just add a base stitch in a little bit wider of 1/4 inch seam, and then we'll trim off the outside edges. Now that my fabrics are secure with my base stitch, I'm going to trim my top to the correct size. So with the cube, you want to trim it to 5.5 inches just to make up for the seam allowances for all the sides. So I'm simply going to trim somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 off of each edge of this, keeping my rectangle in the center the entire way. Now that my top is nice and trimmed, I'm simply going to set this aside and we'll start working on the sides of our tissue box. To make the sides of the tissue box, you're going to be making all 4 sides at the same time. So it's just simply one step after the other. You want to take your foam and put it center on your table. You want to take your lining and put it right side up and put your main right side down. Now, if you have a directional print, you want to make sure that you put pins or clips at the bottom so you know which way your direction faces. Once you have your fabric stacked on top of each other, we're simply going to add a couple of clips to hold everything together. And I'll be starting at this bottom side, going all the way around, and then stopping, leaving a 3 to 4 inch turn opening, depending on the size tissue cover you're making. Once you have stitched around the outside of all of your side and front and back pieces, we're simply going to clip our corners and turn our project right side out through our turn opening. You can use whatever instrument you'd like to push out your corners. I'm personally going to use this little stiletto. It's absolutely one of my favorites. Once you have your corners poked out, we're going to simply press our project and then tuck our turn opening under. Now on each side and the front and back pieces, we're going to add a top stitch, 1/8 of an edge just to catch our turn opening, just on the side where the opening is. The other 3 sides are all going to be part of the project, so they don't need it. Let's go sew our top stitch. Now that I have my top stitch done, I'm simply going to repeat that for all the remaining sides in front and back. Then it's time to assemble our kit. I'm going to start with my top for my project. Now, depending if you want the pop of color, you would put the lining side up so it would look like this. Or if you want it all to match, like my sample that I have made, we're simply going to put our right sides together. You want to keep your top stitch away from your sewing line for your front, back, and your side pieces. So I'm just going to add some clips to hold it in place. When we start sewing, we're going to start and stop our seam 1/4 inch from both ends of our fabric, and we'll continue that all the way around our project. Once you have your first piece done, you're simply going to open it up and add your next piece on the opposite side. Moving all the way around, once again, keep your top stitch line away from the seam you're going to sew. Add some clips to hold everything together. Once again, starting and stopping 1/4 inch from the front and the back of the seam. Continue this all the way around until your project looks like a large plus sign. At this stage, your project should look like a plus sign. We are simply going to pinch our corners together and sew our seams, sealing it into a square. Once you have all of your sides attached together, it is simply time to turn your project right side out. I always go through and finger press out my points. You guys can use a stiletto to poke them out really well. And then the final step to get nice, crisp edges on your tissue box is to take your sides, pinch them together, and press. So simply grab your pressing mat and press your corners so they get nice and crisp. Repeat that all the way around your tissue cover on all of your seams. Once everything is nice and pressed, you simply add it right on top of your tissue box. You can find this kit on our website at thequiltedcow.com or on our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Please like and subscribe for more tutorials, and thanks for watching.
Okay, you wicked cool quilters, good job. You made it to the end. We would like to thank our sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grids, rulers, rotary cutters, and mats, and Wilmington Prints for the beautiful fabrics. Thanks for watching.